Welcome to the football show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Peter Martin. Alan Ruff is alongside me, and two special guests on a Monday. Stephen O'Donnell and Stephen McGowan are here with me, and here's what's coming up.
On today's show, brought to you by Arnold Clark Rewards. John McGlynn picks up Manager of the Year at PFA Scotland last night. Meanwhile, Daizen Maeda is named Player of the Year. Rangers release a statement condemning fan behaviour at yesterday's Old Firm at Ibrox. Hibs hit front of the race for third after victory in the capital. And Tony Docherty blasts match officials after Dundee suffered a harsh VAR call at Dens Park.
Yeah, just a few of the topics to discuss. We'll look back over the weekend's Scottish Premiership fixtures, look ahead to what we have in store this week, which involves playoffs, a bit of European football thrown in for good measure. And if we get right to the end and we're looking for somebody to talk about, Harry Kane as a winner in the Bundesliga. Let's see if we can get there. Great to have the two Stephens with us, Ruffy. PFA Awards, in the end, Daizen Maeda, John McGlynn and Lennon Miller, the big winners. Here's the whole list of everybody who attended the awards last night and watched on as the Player of the Year, voted for by the players. Daizen Maeda picked up that award. The young player, Lennon Miller. The Championship Player of the Year was Brad Spencer. Fraser Taylor picked it up in League One, Alan Troughton in League Two, and there's John McGlynn confirmed as Manager of the Year. And for the SWPL, Emma Lawton was the Player of the Year, the Young Player of the Year was Laura Berry, and the Manager of the Year was Grant Scott. So, congratulations to all. Any argument with it, Ruffy?
No, I think we all know he was the front runner for a long, long time. He's had a wonderful season. The amount of goals he scored since Kyogo had left, I don't think anybody saw he was going to get that amount. But no, he's been a breath of fresh air. I think anybody we had in, when we asked who they thought would be the front runner, it was going to be him. Yeah,
did he surprise you moving into that central role and scoring so many goals, Stephen?
I think obviously scoring so many goals was maybe a bit of a surprise, but what you knew from when he'd played out wide was the energy he gave, the relentlessness in his performances every week. And he continued that even when he went up top, and he's getting chances. Celtic obviously have a lot of the ball, and he's brought this season a composure in front of goal and delivery that has propelled him to Celtic's main man.
Yeah, in the end, you know, when he goes there and he's firing in the amount of goals that he's fired in, that certainly caught the attention of everybody. I'm not too sure whether some people might have a gripe about the Manager of the Year, Stephen. What do you make of it?
Well, I think people always have a gripe about the Manager of the Year, but I mean, John McGowan's had back-to-back promotions. I mean, it'd be pretty poor to begrudge him that. Look, the trouble with these things always is the same. It's too early, because you can't really get the full context until you know who's won everything. If Brendan Rodgers wins a treble, then it looks a bit harsh not to give it to him, but equally you have that argument about resources as well, don't you? Yeah,
and your teammate, young Lennon Miller, he looks assured. I watched him up at Dens at the weekend as well. He's always looking for that forward pass. What is it that's so special about him that you see on a daily basis?
He's so calm, composed, and he always wants the ball. That's one of the things that's the most impressive about someone so young, is like the number of times we're trying to find the middle of the park a lot now, and when you find him, he will lose it sometimes, as every player does. But the next time I get the ball, who's running over trying to give me the angle? He is constantly looking to better himself as a player, how he kind of listens, wants to kind of learn from this manager learn from Kettlewell as well. And it's I know it's exciting to see how he does, and interesting to see where he goes, because he will go. I'm sure he will, and nothing but the best from everyone at Motherwell. He's been exceptional for us.
Yeah, it's a big call for him. It's a big decision. He's got some really sensible people around him, none more so than his dad. But
I thought you were going to say me there. I was like, yeah, no, you're spot on.
Let's not descend the show into stupidity, Stephen.
He's waiting till he goes before he goes in and negotiates.
I want to see how much money they get.
Oh, you're still hanging on for the testimonial. But on that point, though, I mean, as a player, there are no boundaries now when you consider that, you know, we're all sitting here watching Scott McTominay and Billy Gilmour on the so close to winning a Serie A title. He's got a big call that he might say to himself, I want to go and develop myself in European football, and it's open for him.
I've spoken about this before. There was the debate with young Rice went to Rangers and Lennon stayed at Motherwell, and decisions like this, you can make what you think's best for yourself and your family. There's nothing else matters, because no matter where you go or what you do, if it goes well, people will say it was a masterstroke. If it goes badly, oh, shocking decision, should have stayed, should have left, whatever it is. So, look, I'm delighted that he has stayed and played for Motherwell, because he's made us better for the 70-odd games he's played. He has improved our team. So selfishly, I'm delighted. And hopefully, he's got more experience, which then puts him into a position to be a first-team player wherever he goes. But look, I think he's a ridiculously talented footballer. And no matter what path he chose, I think he would have made it. I just hope that he goes and kicks on again, which I'm sure he's capable of.
Yeah, congratulations to everyone who picked up an award at the ceremony last night. That's the highs of an award ceremony. We always like to talk about the football that we've witnessed over the weekend, whether it involves Celtic and Rangers playing other teams. But when the two of them lock horns together, you like to talk about what happens on the park. But as ever with the clubs when they get together, there always is a contentious moment, and it started right from the off with the Tifo that was displayed. Now, clearly, this Tifo has angered not just people who witnessed it in the stadium and on the TVs, but obviously it's upset Rangers as a club as well. Rangers Football Club has condemned the actions of the individual who threw a bottle during today's match. This behaviour has no place at our stadium, which is the first part. And then they go on to talk about the Tifo. We also acknowledge that the Tifo displayed prior to kick-off crossed the line and was unacceptable. Our approach to supporters' displays has always been built on trust, with the responsibility placed on groups to exercise good judgment. So, let's deal with the immediate point, which is on, the Tifo. Again, it's in bad taste, but I think over and above that, I think that could easily be nipped in the bud earlier. When you allow people into a stadium in the first place, there must be some kind of control on what you're going to display.
That's what people can't understand. It's all very well Rangers making a statement, and they're right to make a statement, and I understand why, because this is a club who are trying to go through with a multi-million-pound takeover just now. And it's very likely that the values of the potential new owners in San Francisco don't necessarily marry with the traditional values, inverted commas, of some of the supporters. But the fact is, how does that Tifo, something that monumental, get into the stadium without the club knowing about it? I mean, they're talking about always been built on trust. Well, I think if we know anything about Union Bears and the Green Brigade, you can't necessarily trust them to toe the line all the time. Ultras will be ultras. So I think there has to be a bit more checks and balances going on when it comes to these things. Yeah,
Ruffy, it was in poor taste. I had one of your old teammates photographed with a gun, first and foremost, and then secondary to that, it's just a derogatory statement, again, inflammatory as well. And I think that's the most pertinent point about it, is the fact that with the fans holding this banner up, this again throws light on a very sensitive time when the owners are looking and saying, you want everything to be above board. You don't want negativity surrounding it when you're negotiating with them. I personally think if there is a takeover, the owners might be upset about these things, but are looking at the cold light of day of financially, what are we getting ourselves into?
Yeah, I think Stephen's right. I think any of the new owners that were at that game, it would be an eye-opener, and they'd be turning around to each other and going, what's that about? That's the problem they're going to have when they get in. But you're right, it's just, for me, it's just happening far too often now. And we sit here and we debate, how do you do it? How do you stop them getting in? The question for me is, why do they do it? Why do they think that is acceptable in this day and age to do something like that?
Yeah.
They're on the verge of everything, that stand getting banned, not in the SPL, but in Europe, but something's got to happen. Somebody's got to come out and do something about it.
That's the problem. Who does?
Yeah.
I mean, you look at it. I mean, Police Scotland are obviously looking into it. I don't think it's a police matter personally, at a Tifo. Other issues that happened when what was going on the pitch and so on, that absolutely is a police matter. I don't know that a Tifo is, but do the SPFL, do the SFA want to get involved in that? Well, I think we know the answer to that.
Yeah, banners, Tifos can cross the line into whether the police would then view it as something
I must
that could
speak about my
incite.
personal feeling. Yeah, I mean, I don't get offended by these things, to be honest.
No, I don't either. I mean,
I can't get excited about it. If people do get offended, fair enough. But I mean, is that a police matter for me personally? Probably not. A bottle going on the pitch, absolutely.
the other thing about it, bottle going on the pitch is another thing. I'm excluding you for a specific reason, Stephen, because quite simply you're playing football. It's a very difficult and volatile subject for a player of another club to offer, some kind of forthright opinion on it, just in case you think I'm blanking you on it. The bottle's another problem because as we're sitting, week in, week out talking about bring drink back to the game, this just sets you further and further back. We were
Be trusted with a Tifo, how can you be trusted with a drink?
Well, absolutely, because we were at Motherwell a couple of weeks ago where they had a beer garden. It was absolutely brilliantly organised. People just going for a drink of all ages and enjoying themselves, and then they would go into the game roughly. And drinking does happen around the grounds, but it makes it more and more difficult to get it on the courtyard and in the grounds.
Yeah, but again, we in the modern day, CCTV is everywhere in a stadium. If you get into most stadiums, there is a room with so many cameras that can identify that kind of thing. You would just like that they can pinpoint it, you'd find the person. Same with the Celtic thing as well. They've got photographs of that guy with the phone in his hand. Identify them, make an example of them, and hopefully the people run about them would say, well, if I'm going to get banned for life, that's what's going to happen to me.
Well, that brings me to the next point, which I do have here in the notes, which is quite simply, at times, genuinely good football fans who go to games, want to watch the football, want to sing and support their team. We've already dealt with the Tifo in the bottle. When I saw the images of a man mocking the death of 66 people at Ibrox, it just beggars belief that, first of all, he thinks that is okay to do. It tells you all about his morals and values when he goes into a game like that. And again, if he's crossed the line, if he's broken the law, I'm sure the police will deal with it. There's also, I was reading in the papers today, investigations into an Aberdeen fan mocking a disabled St Mirren fan. There are people, and we've got to accept it in life, Stephen, who just come to games and they are not nice people, no morals, no values, and basically they tarnish the club by being associated with them.
Or a brain dead. I mean, it's very difficult to get your head around that stuff. How can anybody who has a normal background relate to what's going on in these situations? It is brain dead. And as you say, it's been a pretty grim weekend. If you look at what happened at Paisley, what happened at Ibrox. The problem is that what you get quite often is a whataboutery. Instead of fans looking at trying and appeal to their fellow fans and their own support to get their house in order, it's like, never mind us, what about what's going on over there?
That's exactly what happens.
And that is what's happening again here. And it's just like, look, can we all agree? There's no point
scoring. It's
not a point scoring thing. It's not a club bias thing. Wherever this happens, it's out of order.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. We've dealt with the issue. We're going to try and talk football. Just before we get on to the games, can I just mention that our thoughts are with Andy Payton. It was a story that caught my eye. Andy Payton played for Celtic in the 90s. He's only 57, Ruffy, battling against dementia. And clearly Andy was one of those players, striker, who would be heading the ball, relentlessly in training and, of course, in match play. And at 57, his wife and himself are well aware of the fact that having seen and sought out medical advice that dementia, early as it is, will play a part in his life in future years. Yeah,
Tony Higgins in particular is active in doing something with dementia. We went through to Holyrood, a group of footballers, just to put a case forward. I think it was about 6 or 7 months ago, and I think, unfortunately, it never got taken any further. It was put in front of the MSPs, and we debated it for a long, long time. Everybody threw in their tuppence worth of my generation and other generations, but I don't think anything happened. They were looking for compensation, as other organisations were looking for some kind of decision. But we don't even know medically. There's nobody coming out and actually going 100%. Yeah, You know, everybody seems to be, again, usually as it goes to something like that, it just goes round and round and round and round and nothing happens.
Yeah, Stephen, what we do know is that of the evidence that's been presented, it is 3 to 4 times more likely that you could get, dementia, Alzheimer's, based on the fact that you're heading a ball relentlessly, especially, dare I say it, centre-half, centre-forwards.
Probably a positive I've moved in a centre-back at
Yeah.
32, 33.
I know exactly, that's what I was thinking. But the problem here is, Stephen, that as Ruffy mentioned there, and this is where I think it does hit a wall, and it's quite simply who pays, and if they have to pay, then they'll put a rider in a contract saying, by the way, you know the risks, there's no compensation.
No, I think it's a wee bit, you see it over in America more so with American football, and I think with the helmets they just feel they can't be broken and they fly into everything. I think I'm surprised at that being as high as that with heading it. I wouldn't have thought it would be increased it that much, but again, it would be nice if everyone was made aware and kind of making sure everyone's aware of it. I still think people would want to do it. I don't think, personally, my mindset would be I came into football when I was playing and I knew there was risks attached. The problem is I don't think the generation before maybe knew, so they should know. But certainly being aware of it, maybe helping, catching it early, things to prevent it. I know the concussion protocols changed to try and be a bit more vigorous to kind of help minimise the damage rather than doubling down, which a lot of players would do. Oh, I'm fine, I can play. So it's important we try and certainly, when players are active, do everything we can to be like making it as safe as possible for them. But certainly after they retire, they can't be forgotten about, and giving them the best help and the best care. If it's maybe providing some sort of private health to maybe get them scans earlier if they think something's wrong, because there's no doubt about it. Dementia, Alzheimer's, they're very difficult for the person involved and family members to cope with and deal with.
And last point on this, Stephen, and this is where the problem that Fraser Wisher, as Chief Executive of the PFA, has highlighted. It's fine if you're in the English Premier League where there's absolutely thousands upon thousands of money there and a stronger safety net and an ability to try and help people and their families. Up here, it's very difficult.
Even down south, there's a bit of controversy, wasn't it? I mean, Chris Sutton, one of the guys, has been battering the PFA down south. Because they are rolling money. I don't really know that they've been coming forward to help families and players. And that's the issue. Football is welfare than it's ever been as a sport. What is it doing to make some provision for the families who are struggling to cope with players who were damaged from heading the ball too often? I know there's a big myth about this as well, and it was exposed by the field study at University of Glasgow, that it's because of the heavy balls. Well, actually, that's not proven. It might just as much be the fact the speed of the modern ball as the heaviness of it. It's just as damaging, and that's got to be concerning as well.
Absolutely.
I would have said, what Stephen's talking there, in my era, there was no building up for the back. As soon as I picked up the ball, you launched it. So the only two people who were going heading on the ball was the centre-half and the centre-forward. Yeah. So I would think they're more likely than anybody else.
Has it been correlated?
My era, before my era. But as Stephen says, you've got to have somebody to put forward a
Do we know if that's been done, like looking at midfielders, say, avoiding it?
Well, the other thing that's a good point.
It'd be interesting to know that as a.
I don't know if we've actually got to a situation where they've actually looked at the broad spectrum of people who have contracted dementia or Alzheimer's and then started to break it down into where you play. Because Billy McNeil basically said in training would be heading a ball, somebody would be throwing it up for him, and he'd just be heading it to try and get the distance, and of course, heading the ball properly. And that in training alone, Well,
Scotland's led the way in this. I mean, it's not just the University of Glasgow. The SFA 2022 I was over in Qatar at the World Cup when the SFA announced it. Was it the day before training and day before a game and the day after a game? You don't head the ball or something, Stephen?
There was something like that brought in,
Yeah, and so I mean, the Scottish football's kind of trying to lead the way on this. The problem is that it all takes money. And to get to the next stage where we start to identify whether it's midfielders or centre-halves or centre-forwards, someone needs to fund the research. As I say, I think football has been a bit slow in coming forward.
Yep, OK, you can give us your thoughts on that. Let's get into the meat and bones of the weekend's football. Rangers won, Celtic won. Wasn't a great game. Who was the star man on each side for you?
Raskin for me for Rangers. For Celtic, thought Engels wasn't bad. Tricky that for Celtic, actually. I thought Raskin was definitely the best player on the pitch.
Yeah, absolutely. Raskin and Balogun. Celtic, I mean, it's difficult sometimes because of the standards they set. Sometimes it's difficult to look beyond McGregor because he makes the whole thing look so easy by coming back, building, taking it off somebody, giving them an angle, and he gets the plaudits so many times. But of all the players that were there, I mean, I think one of the papers gave Hatate an 8.
Second half, he was good. Hatate.
Yeah.
I thought like Vickers and McGregor tend to be pretty comfortable all the time, which is, and I thought they were again yesterday. But I thought Balogun was really good. He was solid a couple of times. He was tackling the first half with Forrest was slipped in just when he get back. Some really good defending. But no, look, I think the game maybe lacked a spark that creates a star man. But it was still an entertaining enough game. There was a drama obviously before and then during the game, which obviously adds to stuff. But no, look, I think with the league being over, I think it was always going to be a difficult one to contest.
Yeah, I think if from a Rangers perspective, these games, I think the Rangers fans will feel what might have been because they've got the best out of the fixtures against Celtic, even with the draw. But it just hasn't materialised for them this season. That's what the big pain is. Can't beat lesser sides.
Yeah, you could see the hope in the game that they would win it and take anything that goes with that winning and carrying it on into next season, because obviously now it never happened and the records are coming out. What is it, 7 games at home? They haven't won a game. It's a record. You know, things 6 like
anyway.
that.
Six
things
games
like
anyway.
that. Things
7
like that
now, yeah.
But anyway, they haven't won 6 games anyway.
Yeah.
And these records start coming out, so it was important that they won it. I think from Celtic Rangers' point of view, in these games, I don't know who it is, but they've seemed to been able to deal with Callum McGregor. You know, they've sussed it that he's not going to be influential in the games. We're going to do something that he's not going to win the game for Celtic. In the last 3 games, I thought they've done that.
Yeah, well, the battle for me, which I love to see, I mean, Scott Brown was a master at it. Let's pick a fight. Raskin and McGregor sort of ding-dong with each other was great to watch.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's any great secret to this. I think Rangers are well suited to games against Celtic in Europe when they can set traps, they can counter-attack, they can press high. The problem is when they come up against teams playing a low block, you know, when they're playing against 11 men, they're just not as good at breaking them down. So I think it's that simple, and I think that's part of the problem for Barry Ferguson is that hasn't really changed since he came in. They're still getting the same results against Celtic that they were under Clement, latterly anyway, the same results they were in Europe. He just hasn't managed to break that pattern domestically in terms of going up against teams like Motherwell, against St Mirren, against Dundee United, and actually making it better and breaking them down.
Yeah. Over and above that, we're talking about the record. Barry still himself has to look at it and say, well, he thinks it's better if Rangers make their move soon to appoint a manager. Barry himself still wants the job.
I know I can do the job. Yeah, of course, but that's up to people above to decide. Look, since I've come in here, there's been a few bumps, but that does not scare me one single bit. I know I've been through the doors now. I know what's needed in terms of change. So we just need to wait and see. But as I said to you, it has to be a decision made quickly now, because we're coming to the end of the season. You need to obviously start deciding what way you want to go heading into next season, because this season's been dry in terms of trophies. This club needs to get back to challenging and winning trophies again.
I think the general feeling across a broad spectrum of people is he hasn't got a catch chance in hell of getting it. Now, I think it's a wee bit unfair on the basis it's not his side. I think they're a team of underachievers and a team that's just quite simply not good enough.
Yeah, I think probably the players are the problem rather than the manager is. I think Barry's conducted himself pretty well. I think he's spoken well. I think he's shown he takes responsibility seriously. He's been a good ambassador for the club, but I think they'll want to make a statement. I think they'll want to get a name. And listen, we don't know what's going on in the background. It would be naive to think they're not already looking at this subject. They're not talking to people, be that Steven Gerrard or whoever, or Sean Dyche, and I'm not just throwing those names out there. I have no idea whether they are or not, but you'd like to think this takeover is not a new thing. you must have been speaking to people behind the scenes. Although ultimately the decision, you would think, would have to be influenced by Kevin Fairwell, the new sporting director.
I would have thought he's spot on though, looking like Barry talking about wanting to get a decision done quickly, because even for ourselves at Motherwell, the manager coming in, he needed time to, especially when he was foreign, coming in, maybe not knowing the league, he needed to come in and find out who he can trust, who he thinks a good player, who he needs to get rid of. That is hard to, so Barry is well placed to know that, he'll know his squad. But obviously to bring someone else in, they need to try and catch that quickly, because before you know it, the season started. And then is it another year? Are they going to wait another year? Which then obviously I dare say the fans aren't going to be happy with that. So it becomes a time-sensitive issue. And I really do think they need to try and appoint one quickly.
Well, here's my take on it. I don't think there is a time-sensitive issue here. I think quite simply, until there are new owners in the door, and then Kevin Fairwell says, OK, how much have we got? What type of manager can we recruit, and how much money is he going to have? And that will then allow me to sit down with a specific type of manager and say, listen, I want you on this fee, and this is what you're going to get to try and transform Rangers to take the title away from Celtic. And that, for me, is not suddenly Barry Ferguson calling it's time to quicken this up, because it doesn't happen that way, Rocky. There's too many unknowns at the moment.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The guys are perfectly right. We're waiting on a statement. We're waiting until it's all signed and sealed. You know, we know it's going to cost a lot of money to take it over. No, does that mean what's left? Does that mean what is left determines what kind of manager comes in or takes it? And I think the Rangers supporters are just anticipation, just waiting to see. But Barry's right. You know, I can't imagine what it must be like for him, wondering, is it going to be me? Is it not going to be me? So, from his point of view, I'm sure he'd want to have a decent sleep at night, knowing whether he's getting it or not.
Yeah, whether it's Barry Ferguson or someone else that we are waiting out of left field to get that job, there's a few players that we'll have to look at and say yay or nay. But of course, he has actually, the man who's coming in, inherited a guy who scored a barload of goals and is still dividing the Rangers support. Here's what Cyriel Dessers had to say after his goal, his sixth touch of the ball yesterday. The other 5 touches weren't really in dangerous areas. The 6th one provided Rangers with the lead, and he was quick to highlight his contribution over the last 2 seasons.
I think if 2 years ago, the day I signed, you would tell the fans this striker is going to score, 47 goals in 2 seasons, I think everybody would have said, oh, yes, please. And I did it until now. Could have been more, probably yes. Could have been less, probably yes. So I'm just trying to do my job, and it hurt me a lot in the beginning, but now I kind of moved past that.
Have you ever met a guy who scored 47 goals in 2 seasons and the jury's still out?
I think we'd take that.
47 goals?
I'd take 2. No, look, I think he's certainly someone that at times you can see the fans get frustrated with him. But to have that return, like, you can't argue with it, it's fact.
What's he like to play against?
I thought he's difficult, he's strong, he's athletic. I think he maybe falls suit to sometimes Rangers style, they maybe don't dominate the game, say, as maybe a Celtic did. But you probably look at Celtic strikers, like Kyogo would have went through games where he wouldn't have touched it much when they're dominating a lot of the ball and he's kind of drifting in that offside channel. The problem is he'd be dead sharp and maybe easier on the eye, but I think you can't argue his return, and I think if the new owners come in, they'll be certainly seeing him as an asset, and probably either one they're looking to sell if the fans aren't happy and they maybe get that vibe, or wanting to try and keep him tied down, because he's certainly an asset with that return, the likes of Raskin as well, with the form he's been shown.
Yeah, it's an unforgiving city. You know, in some cases I've heard the Sweet give Dessers 57 chances and he'll eventually kill you.
Listen, I would have him about the place. Personally, I've always said this, always felt this. I don't know, you wouldn't want him as your main man starting every game. But I mean, 25 goals this season alone, I mean, that's some dud for me. I mean, he can be infuriating, he can drive you nuts. A bit like Adam Idah, actually, was kind of tale of 2 strikers yesterday, wasn't it? The jury was out, the 2 of them. If Adam Idah doesn't score that equaliser, then he would have got hammered again.
Yeah, he had a one-on-one.
Yeah, the price tags are a boulder around their neck with these guys.
Yeah.
Cyriel Dessers, was it 4.3 million? A lot of money for Rangers to pay at that time. It's not Idah's fault that they paid 9 million for him either. I mean, that was a negotiating situation with Celtic where they didn't build a permanent deal into his loan deal last season. So I think these guys are victims of circumstance, there are price tags, and I think that sometimes the criticism is a wee bit harsh.
Yeah. Criticism, as ever, always comes over the course of the season. You've been well used to it yourself, Stephen. With regards to these guys, when they come to an Old Firm game or they come to a Champions League game, suddenly everybody's got an opinion on them. Everybody then will, are ruthless in the way they go about it. People yesterday looking and saying, Taylor, no, Scales, bomb scare, right-hand side, Ralston, back up but not good enough. Then you move to Idah and you go 9 million, not lethal enough. And then the ultimate one, which everybody's debating, is 11 million Engels. What does he do? That's the type of thing that's the fallout from it, and Dessers comes into that category as well, Ruffy.
Yeah, but as the guy said, his record's there, 47 goals. You could sign somebody for 15 million and maybe not get 47 goals in 2 years. I think it's just the way Rangers play. He gets chances, yeah, but I just think if I shut my eyes and put him in a Celtic jersey, I think he'd probably score more. The way Celtic play with the two wide wingers, balls flashing into the box, I think that style of play would probably suit him better. But tell me a centre forward that doesn't miss chances.
Somebody was saying to me, I can't remember who it was, told me the other night that when he signed for Rangers, it was a journalist, I can't remember who it was, said he phoned somebody in Italy, a well-known name in Italy, and said to him, tell me about Cyriel Dessers, and he said, well, the thing with him is, it'll be a 2 some weeks, it'll be a 9 other weeks. It's just, there's very little in between with Cyriel Dessers.
Yeah, it's erratic.
It's erratic, it's either there or it's there, there's no middle ground.
Yeah. It's good you're a 6 or a 7 every week, Stephen,
100%, exactly. 100%. I think when you see that, if he is like that, I don't obviously watch him week to week, but what Rangers would think then, if that was, say, maybe if they'd heard similar, but if they can get that up to a 5, you then go, this is a top player. That's not a massive, and he's got the ability, he's got the finishing. It's just trying to string that together, and again, you're saying string that together. His return's not bad for it.
He's a brilliant guy.
1 and 2, how many?
He always strikes as a brilliant guy, doesn't he? He doesn't take all this. He takes his stuff amazingly well.
Yes,
he's well suited to Glasgow.
And I think there is mitigating circumstances for an Idah or an Engels. And I've said it before. Whether you're Barry Ferguson, whether you're Brendan Rodgers, or any manager that comes in, a Stuart Kettlewell or a Michael Wimmer, you have a responsibility first to win games. You look at your squad, you want to get players around you, and you want to try and make them better players. And Arne Engels, Adam Idah, young players developing. I include in that Hamza Igamana because I'm waiting to see if he's going to, improve. He's only 22 years of age, so we've got to cut him some slack. The one thing that's certain out of the game, bragging rights are gone. It was a dead rubber for me. Celtic had won the league by a canter, and you don't really know if you'd had that real edge to it. And yesterday, at one point, I'm watching the game, amazingly, Ruffy, I was looking and thinking to myself, Maeda, he looks off it. And by the way, that's him slowing down to a hurricane. That's not usually the tornado. This is him.
He'd phoned 20,000 miles to Japan.
But of course, but the other thing about it is you're looking at it. Well, I'm just giving you my thoughts on what I'm watching, and I'm watching going, he looks off it. And of course, this is what Brendan Rodgers had to say on it as he opens the door to why he looks off it. We have to give him some leeway. He's been in Japan all week. He had his first training day with us yesterday. He flew expecting his wife to have their 3rd child, and she didn't have it, so he had to come back and then go into a game here at Ibrox. Now come on, Ruffy, I think it's fair to say at 20,000 miles. By the way, his Fitbit must have been delighted. It's the first time it hasn't burnt out.
No, but again, you could see his face. He was disappointed with that chance at the end. I just think you try to be a wee bit flash, try to roll it round the keeper when there's 2 guys wide. But again, we're talking about what he's contributed this year, and just a wee mistake like that, he's scored that many goals.
I think it's harsh in some leeway. How long is the flight to Japan?
20,000 miles.
I'm stiff after 2.5 hours on the bus.
Brilliant. Now, obviously, from that point of view, I think the Celtic fans will not be bothering about that game. He certainly, last night, was a happy man. He picked up his award for Player of the Year, and he obviously revealed to our reporter, Alison McConnell, that all his focus, as his teammates will be, is on the Scottish Cup final and the treble.
It's not easy to get this award, so I'm really happy to receive this award. So as a team, we have a chance to win the treble. So yeah, it's been great, and we will go everything for it. And individually, it's been a great season as well. And still, we play 3-4 more games. So I would like to do my best to contribute to the team's winning. Well, the team is doing well, and it's kind of like teams are making me to score. So first of all, we still have a cup final to play, and we need to win that first.
So there you are, Daizen Maeda, focus on the cup final. Okay, elsewhere, give us your thoughts on the Rangers game. Rangers fans, what did you make of it? Who do you think got past Mark Shave as a star man? Celtic fans, give us your thoughts. We struggle to actually name a star man. And of course, we will read out some of your thoughts regarding Tifos and the conduct of some fans, which is quite clearly something that the police may well see there could be somebody who's broken the law, and they'll deal with it. But certainly Rangers have taken a stance that they don't want to be associated with the conduct of people displaying a tifo which is inflammatory. Whether there's action to be taken by the SPFL as well, we'll wait to see. Other games, I was up there at Dens Park. Dundee 1, Motherwell 2. I know you're a little bit miffed. I got, you know, it's always a worry when you get a text from a footballer who's not happy with your line of questioning. But I did think it was a bit. I did think it was a bit of a smash and grab from your boys, because suddenly you're down to 10 men, and I thought, God, you're going to be up against it. But you actually started to play even better.
No, look, I think when you go to 10 men, I'll allow a wee bit of smash and grab. But I felt in context of the game, in the first half they scored 2. They'd one chance, 1-on-1, they should maybe score, but Ashton Roxburgh, who's been out for a while, came back in, and he's ridiculously hard to beat from 1-on-1. So I kind of think 1-on-1's it's not even a chance half the time with him because he's that good. And then they did 2 for outside the box. Portales, first one's a beautiful strike, but a ricochet before it.
Yeah.
Second one's another ricochet and a kind of bit more of a lucky strike with the offside. Contentious offside, but I still think if somebody can affect you doing something, I think it does interfere with it. So that's my opinion on it. But and then I thought in general play we were pretty comfortable. Had a number of chances. Simon Murray was a nuisance at times, but didn't really have any chances. I don't think there were many games you can say that about Simon Murray. And I thought we looked threatening at times. Can we be better? Yes. But look, I think when we got the equaliser, and then obviously the red card, you then think, okay, we probably would have taken a draw. But for that second goal, for the jump, and by the way, I felt it was a red card. I was running about saying it wasn't at the time, but I had quite a good view of it, and it did look quite bad, so that's good with VAR. We need to praise it when it comes in and does the right call, even if it's against yourself. And then obviously the goal, JT's jump, to the energy shown by even, it was Dom Thompson in the wide area, to get there at that time in the game and put in a good ball and JT to out jump, I think was it Robertson, was a great goal and a great kind of moment to kind of secure 41 years in the league and what's been a pretty disappointing season. Not really been any consistency, which is disappointing. But look, we're in the league again next year. Hopefully, come back stronger. Get some players in and see how we look.
And at the end of the game, as ever, this is the one thing I like. You know, I'm like Stephen, I like a good noise up. All the players were cheering and the Motherwell players were all kind of cuddling each other. But Tony Watt is over to the Dundee fans, lifting his top because they have been calling him a fat so-and-so for the entire game. So to his credit, he gave it to them, you know. And I thought, good on you, Tony. That's what you like, a bit of banter.
That's the spirit. I thought, I mean, that Clark Robertson thing was a big talking point, wasn't it? I mean, it was interesting, Steve. I mean, but the letter of the law, you're thinking, okay, the referee's got it right. But it's a real debate, isn't it? I mean, if he doesn't touch the ball, is he?
Well, I disagree with Stephen. I mean, that's the joy. That's the joy of it. I thought it was a goal. I thought it was a perfectly legitimate goal because at the end of the day, you might say that he's altered it, but I don't think he altered any challenge, came anywhere near enough to actually alter the way he was clearing it.
He touched the ball back out again.
Oh, I don't know if he did.
No, he didn't, Ruffy.
I think he did.
No.
I think he was in an offside position and he came forward. And
I thought he came to. I thought it was if it affected more.
If he touches it, he's offside.
100%.
I thought he did.
No.
That was the reason.
My thought was so. I know you're a good fives player, Peter, right? Maybe say sevens as well, right?
Sevens involves a bigger pitch, no.
If you're going one-on-one with the keeper and nobody's chasing you from behind, are you taking what are you doing? You're taking your time and you're slotting it home.
Yeah.
If somebody's coming from behind, you know they're there, they're coming. Are you right? What are you changing your thought process?
No, but
if you know he's there.
No, but
He is interfering with playing in.
So I know he's. If I know he's there, I'm going to need to rush my clearance. If I don't know he's there now, we're giving our player the benefit that they knew, which they 100% did.
Yeah.
Unbelievable awareness would have had. You'd take a touch,
Yeah, but
or
the referee's not saying, I am thinking on thought process. The referee is looking in the cold light of day and saying,
that's an effect, isn't it?
Has he had a material effect with the distance?
He's
that
just
he has
answered
between
that,
the players?
That's what I'm saying.
No,
You've changed my thought. The person behind me or coming from an offside position has affected what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And therefore, I think it's now. We can talk about. I get that the manager's disappointed because it's obviously not a blatant one.
Yeah.
But again, we were up in Dundee a couple of months ago and we had a man down with a head knock and the game didn't get stopped. So maybe the gods spin it round in another contentious one, albeit I'd say a head knock just stopping play regardless. So there's going to be mistakes. VAR's going to make mistakes. I don't think that's one of them. But again, that's the beauty of football and the beauty of VAR. It's continued debate. I thought it might have ended it, but we've still got plenty of talking points in that, and that's the positive of Scottish football.
Yeah, you say he was raging. Boy, he was raging. Here's Tony Docherty.
This game for spectators is all about entertainment, and the entertainment comes from them watching the team scoring goals. And you've seen the reaction of the fans when Antonio scores his second goal there, and I just think it's a disgrace to have made that decision, which affects the dynamic of the game. And again, I will stress the point, I do not abdicate responsibility. Our second half performance, they came out in the front foot, they had a lift from that decision. We went deep and we allowed them back into the game, but not much in a runner. And then at one each, when they get a player sent off, we go for it. We take off a defender, we put on an attacker, we go 4-4-2, and we shouldn't lose that. It's a ridiculous goal to lose the match on, and what could have been an important point the way the results went today.
The other thing about it, which I take your point, you're going back and you've highlighted something else that happened elsewhere, and probably every team, Stephen, and I hate and I don't buy into it, it evens itself out over the course of a season, but we're now getting down to that point where managers are saying, wait a minute, I could get the sack. Yeah. A player loses his job because they've cut the budget.
Mm-hmm. Context is everything there. I mean, if you look at it, Dundee, if they get 2-0 up, we've got a real good chance of winning the game. That gives them a bit of leeway between themselves and Ross County and then St Johnstone. Look at it now. If St Johnstone beat Ross County this weekend, they'd reduce the gap right between 11 and 12 to 3 points. Dundee are going to Kilmarnock, which is not an easy place to go at all. That could get really tight. So context is everything. You can understand the frustration. I think it's probably exacerbated his reaction there.
Yeah, listen, it's a good argument all the way on it. What's your take on it, Ruffy? Then
yeah,
you think
he came in? I think, like Stephen, he came in and was active in the move that led to the goal. And I'm thinking back to the Celtic game. Why was Maeda not interfering with play?
Just when he's in the line of vision of the goal.
That's what I thought at the time when I first seen it. I thought he was interfering.
Just a wee bit wider,
But a bit to the left, he would have been,
Yeah. Listen, it's one of those decisions. Give us your thoughts on it. Which camp are you in? Definitely shouldn't have been a goal. Should have been a goal.
You changed my mind, actually.
Yeah.
Stephen's changed my mind.
I thought you were going one-on-one.
Previously, I was very much should have been a goal. Actually, listen to the pro speaking as opposed to yourself, Peter.
Yeah.
I think I've actually changed my mind.
Yeah, absolutely. There hasn't
Change your mind?
No, not at all. I just think you're talking a lot of crap, but nevertheless.
You double down, I love it.
I'm not. I love it. Listen, the last thing I'm going to be is a weak journalist being changed by your mind on it. Not a chance in hell. I thought it was a goal. In fact, I had already tweeted it was a goal, and then the referee put his hand up and had to quickly change back.
I hadn't clocked it at all at the time. I was like, why is he checking it? Keep checking it.
And then, of course, your
that kind of goal getting chopped off.
It was a lovely
It's an absolute belter. It's a belter of a goal. But listen, just a quick little point that I've mentioned to the boys, we've talked about on the journos as well. I'd love to see, and it's nothing to do with the way that goal came about, I'd love to see Arsene Wenger's, implement there's got to be clear daylight in offside. to give us more goals. I mean, even
Like the goal for Rangers.
Raskin's goal would have been onside. I want to see clear daylight so that we understand that this is an entertainment where we want people to come and enjoy goals.
The problem is always going to be, though, where's that point? So what, do you give 1 foot?
Yep.
Do you give half a foot? Who dictate and then if you're half a foot...
I'd rather say half a foot you're on than half a foot you're off.
There was a goal in Milan, Barcelona, wasn't there? Was it choked off by it was a toe tap or something, wasn't it?
A toe.
That is the definition of what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Funny enough, I thought Raskin yesterday. I think that's clear enough for me.
No, I think that's so harsh. That is not a clear
No, but I mean,
offside.
I thought that, to me, you look at it, you think, yeah, he's offside. Toe, don't know, but that's exactly the point. But that's the point you're making, which is where do you draw the line?
Well, you draw the line quite simply at this. If there's not clear daylight between them, if a toe plays him on, he's on.
Half a body.
Well, clear daylight. That's what Arsene Wenger is saying. If there's clear daylight, if somebody's toe suddenly plays him on, let's see more goals.
I wouldn't have an issue.
Don't look for ways to
I
stop
want
goals.
attackers to get the benefit.
I wouldn't have an issue with that coming in, but what I would love to come in and see when somebody's offside, stick the flag up and stop the game. Because see the number of times you run back to your own goal, and it's the play can go on for a good wee bit. Tackles flying in because normally you're running back frustrated that the flag's not went up. I'd love that to come back where it's like the ref, because the linesmen have the courage to make the decision, knowing that if it was maybe marginally against them, the managers aren't going to slot them. Because I think players would rather that.
We don't have that technology in yet, Stephen, that they do down in England. That's another
We've got a pound land value, that's the problem. We don't have the cameras to do it.
Absolutely. Ross County won Hearts 3. Anne Budge, after Ross County had scored, was getting absolute dog's abuse, Ruffy. Once Hearts got their 3 goals, they were all talking about master stroke by Liam Fox. He's now playing the number 9 role. Shankland's got 2 and he set up the 3rd.
Well, that's where we are, isn't it? The supporters at some clubs are dictating, what's to be done behind the scenes, and unfortunately, if you've not got a strong board to stand up and see them out, I mean, obviously things have got to go your way for them to keep quiet, but that's the way it is at Hearts just now, that they've just turned on the people who have saved the club.
Yeah, and there's talk of Derek McInnes becoming one of the front runners for the Hearts job now.
I think it's premature to say that just now. I mean, sure he will be in their thinking, he absolutely will be in their thinking, but I think if you're Andrew McKinley, Chief Executive, you're Graham Jones, Technical Director, you've got to get this right. There's big pressure here, so I think the process will be exhaustive. I think they'll really take their time, can't rush into it, can't get this one wrong. The interesting thing is Jamestown Analytics will be involved again. Well, they were involved in Critchley, and it wasn't a great advert for that. So they, as well, have got to prove themselves a little bit this time.
Does Jamestown Analytics, I don't know about the software, but does the software stop near Grangemouth and Falkirk, or does it just blank that out
Interesting,
completely?
isn't it? Well, I mean, what it does do is, I mean, we live in our wee bubble where we say, okay, we see the manager of Kilmarnock, see the manager of Falkirk, they should be the front runners. What that does is allow them to look far and wide. Allows them to look across the world. And the question then would be, do they need somebody who knows the Scottish game? Do they need somebody who knows Scottish football? Probably. So they probably will come back to that little short list again. Probably will go back to McGlynn and McInnes and so on. But I would imagine there'll be a left field name or 2 in there.
Yeah,
The way things are going, you look at Aberdeen, look at Motherwell.
Yep.
These foreign coaches seem to have their heads up and everybody else.
We'll get to Jimmy Tillene in a moment, by the way. The tweet's coming, it's coming. St Johnstone, nil, Kilmarnock 2, Watson and Armstrong. Watson, last year, picking up Young Player of the Year. This year he's had a difficult time. And Derek McInnes confirmed that Barry Wales will be heading out of... Bobby Wales, sorry. Barry's his great uncle. Bobby Wales will be leaving to go to Swansea. But I think Derek was putting across a positive message that he always felt as if they weren't really thinking about relegation.
Well, you can say that now.
Yeah.
You can say that now.
His ball would crash.
I don't know. You can say it 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, listen, Motherwell, Kilmarnock have given themselves a bit of breathing space. They're coming down to that bottom 3 now. I mean, this weekend's going to be huge. We'll probably come on to this. I don't want to jump the gun, but St Johnstone Ross County is a game of the weekend for me.
Oh, absolutely it is. And Simo Valakari knows that they're in the last chance saloon.
Before I go to the game, fight continues. Because the other results, they went, that way, that we still have a lifeline or how you call it, but it's getting more and more difficult, and it's more likely our last chance next week now. Next week we're going to play against our direct opponent. There is no other options if we want to keep pushing the last 2 matches that we need to win next week. So
they've been writing them off for long enough. He's managed to get a trick out of them, just not enough, Stephen.
Yeah, no, look, we played a couple of times, played them in the cup, they knocked us out, and I felt he has them playing a brand of football that's hard to play against, but maybe leaves them open sometimes for whether it's counters or picking up kind of the ball in dangerous areas. And yeah, no, it's certainly a tough one for them at the weekend. They do need to win, and it's it'll be an interesting one if they stay with him, because he has got them playing a style, and this comes down to clubs and boards having the strength to keep a decision. If that's the route they wanted to go, then they need to keep trusting that route to try and get them back out the Championship. Or do they rip it up and go, we need to somebody
I think they will, Stephen. I think that's it. Let's get mood music coming out. They're going to stand by it. It's a project. I mean, he's been linked to Spawn with HJK Helsinki.
Yeah.
And the noise is coming out. His noise staying put. He's going to stick with us, get them back into the Championship again. And, you know, you talk about Neil Critchley and think never looked a great fit for Hearts. I think Valakari will be a reasonable long-term appointment for St Johnstone. I hope so, anyway. Because
so do I. I like him. Yeah, I like him. I think they've started to play a better brand of football than they did previously. Hibs 3, Dundee 1. It is actually not unusual to get a group of supporters who actually put out a Tifo, which is very positive. And here are the Hibs fans displaying that, nauseating as it must be to some people in the West. But this is them, Ruffy, basically showing their support for David Gray. He's turned things around. They stuck by him, and there was a huge tifo to celebrate what he's done. He's been absolutely magnificent. They got a 3-1 win over Dundee United, and you know, all things are looking good for third for them now, Ruffy. When you consider where Aberdeen were and now where Hibs find themselves favourites to finish third.
Yeah, again, I think you have to give the people behind the scenes at Hibs a lot of credit for hanging on in there. He was obviously a legend at the club as a player, and getting the manager's job and seeing that right sticky. How many games was it they went without winning? Something about 13, 14?
Yeah.
You know, I would have thought other people in charge would have said, right, that's it. But this particular board, or whoever makes the calls, whether it's Malky or whoever, you know, stuck by him, and now they're getting the rewards, and that might be a lesson to a lot of other clubs. Yeah, let's not be giving them praise for sticking by them, Ruffy. It was because they were backs against the wall, because they've been sacking managers willy-nilly.
It's thing after that St Mirren game, they lost to St Mirren. Remember, there was a statement on the Monday, kind of vote of confidence, and David Gray. And to be honest, we're sitting around, all journalists were sitting around that day waiting for the sacking announcement. Yeah. And you wonder if they'd had an alternative that day, whether they might have just gone for it. But listen, it doesn't matter whether it's by luck or by design, it's worked. Yeah, you see how you've got to try, and we have to do this on a continual basis, Stephen. You have to analyse the person who's made the statement, and it's just a sneaky ex-Hibby who tried to spin that there, but we didn't fall for it. You've seen through it. Exactly. It's a Hall of Fame Hibby. Yeah, it's a Hall of, we know it's a Hall of Fame Hibby. In the end, Dundee United, I think maybe all the highs of what Jim Goodwin has achieved is being slightly criticised by some harsh United fans who are saying, wait a minute, we could be dropping to fifth here, but yeah, look, I think for Dundee United, again, it's just sadly the poison chalice that is football. Yeah. Supporters will always want more. And whenever you see Dundee United getting promoted last season, I know Jim Goodwin had said finishing in the top 6, I think he'd mentioned it before he actually, which was a bold shout. But they went and done it, and I think it's been an incredible season. Regardless if they lose the next 3 games, they've still had a very, very good season. And pretty harsh if they're criticising them. But touching on Hibs, I felt he could have been up for the manager of the month, manager of the year. Sorry, I thought if they were to finish third, see when you talk about if the season was finished, and I know you could say Rodgers could win a treble, but from where they were in November, wasn't even bottom. Yeah, and now we played them, and they were a good side. We played them near the start, and they were a good side, but we bet them, and it continued. And then I think we beat them, I can't remember now. And to stick with him whenever he's an inexperienced manager is fair play, and to be where they are and to play exciting football.
Delighted for him, and hopefully it can be, sometimes there can be rough patches along the way, but if you buy into him, the club maybe got the feeling around the place that the players bought into him, and it's came good.
Yeah, St Mirren 1, Aberdeen 0. You consider they could have been 12 points clear of Rangers to where they are now. I think there has to be some criticism here of Jimmy Talleen, Ruffy, because they're now a little bit erratic, and they're still in the battle for third. But he came up against St Mirren Mandron, who's now got a Scottish granny somewhere. This is fantastic news.
Really? Is that I've missed that?
That's a consideration. Apparently his granny's Scottish, Ruffy, or she's driven through Paisley at some point. We're grasping at straws here, but yet again Stephen Robinson comes up with a win.
Yeah, with Stephen in a couple of weeks ago, and he still believed, you know, in the players and the results that they were getting against the bigger sides. They've done it again at the weekend, and who's to say they won't do it next week? So if you're in a team with that kind of momentum coming at the end of the season and you're winning games, and it's a great place to be. It's a great dressing room. The trainers magnificent, and guys like him coming up with goals at the end of the game. But I think Aberdeen are just showing again that inconsistency that they showed, you know, in the middle part, you know, and off the rails a wee bit. But I think the supporters will be more than happy with the cup final.
Yeah, if they win it, you'll be a legend.
Well, if he finishes fourth or third, it wins a cup. And Aberdeen haven't won a Scottish Cup since 1990.
Yeah.
So that will influence how people look back in this season for Celtic, I think.
Who scored the winning penalty?
Brian Irvine.
Brilliant. That's the knowledge you need in this show, by the way. Congratulations to the manager of the year, John McGlynn. And of course, they managed to get it over the line. And then a good old pitch invasion without any trouble. The Falkirk fans, certainly average age 9, enjoyed it. It was fantastic to see. And John McGlynn was right to point out after the game what he inherited when he came into Falkirk.
So proud of everyone at the football club, my backroom staff, Paul Smith, everyone involved, the directors, the fans. We've turned this club around. This club was broken. It was on its knees, finishing 5th and 6th in League One before we came in. To get to 2nd in the first season, a Scottish Cup semi-final, to be invincibles and then to do this. It's incredible. I don't know, maybe you guys can tell me when was the last time somebody went League One champions and then to the Premiership. I don't know who it is. I don't know. Well, obviously, I don't know about recent years, you know.
Brilliant achievement. Great. I mean, they're great to watch, Stephen.
No, definitely. I think we've the luxury of playing them the last 2 pre-seasons. It's not what you need pre-season. You're popping it everywhere. You're running about. The sun's out. The pitch. But no, you could tell both times we played them. They're a good side, and delighted for them. I think when they play that style, obviously the unbeaten season kind of comes into the Brendan Rodgers. They'd have been obviously a big squad, big budget for the league, but to do it this season has been incredible, and delighted for them. Know a few of the players, and no, I think they're in Ibiza just now, so hopefully they're enjoying it and come back and drink plenty so they can go down next season, hopefully.
Yeah. By the way, Peter, he's not wrong, because do you remember that AGM? Remember the AGM that went viral?
Yeah.
It was the board were basically just getting up you to the fans effectively. It was pretty much what it was. And I think at that point, I remember writing a story where it was like $1 million a year at that point. Yeah,
and I don't think Paul Hartley's allowed anywhere near the Falkirk area, by the way, because that youth policy now is reaping its rewards. And I hate to say this, but while Falkirk are coming up and thinking about players that they might want to buy, I think there are players on that Falkirk side that might want to be cherry-picked. I mean, every time I see Calvin Miller, I absolutely love the boy.
But that's the amazing thing, is that I think McGlynn's done it with the same team, the same group of players, hasn't he? You know, I mean, normally these players get 1-year contracts to change and they go up. They don't trust them, but they've trusted them, they've gone with them, given them a chance.
Yeah. Just before we finish, guys, got to get your thoughts. Playoff, Partick Thistle, Ayr United, Ruffy. Can you be in any way impartial in what you're about to say?
No, I think it's going to be tough. I think nobody's done it for 4th to get up there all the way. It's going to be hard. I think you're asking a lot of the players to play that many games in such a short time. So I think everything favours Livingston, but in this particular game, as we've shown in this championship, anybody can beat anybody in any given day.
Yeah.
Partick Thistle have proved that in the last 2 games. So
are you backing them?
Let's hope they do it again.
I'm going to back them. They'll go all the way. Be delighted.
Yeah, absolutely.
I tell you what, see if you're Ross County or Dundee, you're not going to fancy playing Livingston in a playoff final, are you?
No.
Not one bit.
No, absolutely not. A wee mixture of a wee bit of some good football from them. A bit of experience at the back as well, and good old Davy's absolutely magnificent.
He's done another great job as well.
Absolutely has.
The changes they've had, and it's no, you take your hat off them.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're in control of the control in your house and you are watching football this week, you've got playoffs. Then you've got the ultimate game for me is Inter Milan-Barcelona, the return leg, which is going to be sensational.
It's got a lot to live up to, isn't it? What a game that was. That was ridiculous.
That's the best game of the season for me.
Oh, no question.
Yeah.
The goals were ridiculous. It was, I loved it. It was Summer touched it. One of the best. You've probably done that a lot, did you?
Yeah.
Touch on the post off your head, that big head, and there it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes, as I looked at the boy Rafinha hitting the ball, the only thing that was going through my head was Ruffy saying, as a goalkeeper, there are some shots that you just don't bother diving for because they're that good. And I think that sums it up perfectly. Just one little footnote to it all, and I've got to say this because you know what it's like. You can go through your career, you're desperately hoping you can get some sort of silverware. Harry Kane wins the Bundesliga, and he gets a chance just to have a wee celebration beer towards some of the Arsenal fans who've been giving him pelters.
And a lot of the pundits as well still go on about it, and not great. Like he's obviously a top player, and to go over there and to not win it in the first season when they'd won it so much, but for him the curse is off. So maybe Tottenham can do it as well now that it's off for Kane.
Yeah, absolutely. How many years have you been at Motherwell?
6.
6. Another 4 to go, Ruffy. You might get the after dinner gig. I'm certainly getting the hosting of it for the testimonial. It's a Stonewall certainty.
Well, let's wait and see.
Yeah, absolutely. And Stephen,
will you be about?
That's the
That was
line.
me and you.
That's the line. That's the line.
He's looking brilliant.
Yeah, he does look great, doesn't
Boys,
he?
I've ordered a drink.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks very much to Stephen O'Donnell, Alan Ruff and Stephen McGowan. Absolutely brilliant to have them on the show. Thank you to you for all your comments. Don't forget, we've got all our content is absolutely free, but we have our PLZ Premium, which has been launched. It's additional content that you might want to view. If you subscribe to that, we'll be absolutely delighted. PLZ Soccer over the summer, we're going to be bigger and better and offering you more on their services right across social media and YouTube as well. Thank you for listening and watching today.
PLZ Soccer is the #1 digital sports channel in Scotland, and we're offering you the chance to sign up to our exclusive PLZ Premium service.
All our existing content and weekly programmes across all our channels absolutely free of charge. PLZ Premium is offering you exclusive additional content to enjoy.
PLZ Premium offers you exclusive benefits on top of your monthly subscription.
The first 1,000 subscribers will receive a special A4 Legends poster as a PLZ Premium member.
You'll get exclusive video content, including a special Peter Martin Straight Talk 1-to-1 with a legend of the beautiful game.
Every month you'll have exclusive access to ask questions on our special live stream, and you can join us by live video link up.
You also get discounts on official merchandise, early access to tickets for our live events and exclusive behind the scenes footage.
We have a special free draw for premium members with the chance to win a Legends t-shirt.
Come and join the football family and be part of our brand new premium service on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel.
PLZ Soccer, delivering you the best coverage of Scottish football. Wherever you are, we are.